what's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. I'm Rob.
And I'm Chad.
And Chad, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend.
Did you have a good holiday season?
I had a great holiday season.
Are you a Thanksgiving turkey guy? Or do you do prime rib, chicken?
I'm a Thanksgiving turkey guy and then like a prime rib Christmas guy.
Okay.
You got to switch it up.
Well, we've done the turkey. We've done the turkey ham.
Yeah, the combo meal.
I haven't cooked myself a prime rib on Christmas, but I'm not opposed to it.
It's a good decision.
We wake up early but I have gone out for prime rib on Christmas, and I tell you, I do love me a prime rib.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've talked about before. We do love our meats.
We.
We're like Arby's. We've got the meats.
Yeah,
we're not paying you for that slogan, by the way. You should pay us.
You like the meats.
This show is brought to you by Arby's. No, it's not. It's not. They're not giving us a penny. So New Year's, I need to know, are you a New Year's resolution maker?
No.
Okay.
Not anymore.
Just no.
No. As you get older, you realize that doesn't work.
Okay. What type of New Year's resolutions had you made in the past?
Well, all the normal ones. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to eat better, all that stuff. And it just never works.
I don't do New Year's resolutions either.
No.
I mean, I look back on the year before and I go, what can I do to improve myself? Not just like weight loss, but a lot of different things, like how I run my business, things like that, my relationships with my friends. What can I do better to be a better son, a better dad, a better husband, whatever? And then I just try to do that. Right. But there's a couple of reasons for me. Number one, I find that when people make New Year's resolutions and then they fail, which 75% fail.
Oh, it's got to be higher than that, right?
Wait, in the first week.
Yeah, the first week, yeah.
In the first week, 75% fail. They go, hey, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. And then they go Monday, they go Tuesday, and then Wednesday they get busy and they don't make it. So then they just say, screw it, I can't do this, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't like feeling like I've just been defeated. I didn't do anything wrong. But then if I make a New Year's resolution and I don't keep it, I feel like a jerk. Like, oh man, I'm a loser.
Yeah, right? See, I'm too type A personality though. So if I make that resolution and then I can't follow through with it, it's just like a huge letdown for me. So
yeah, and nobody wants that.
No, why would you make a promise you can't fulfill to yourself?
Yeah. And so what a way to start off the new year already behind the gun on doing what you say you're going to do.
That's why I never do New Year's resolutions. And everyone who does is just setting themselves up for failure.
And here's the other thing that I've come to realize, that if you had the wherewithal to go to the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week, if you had the wherewithal to do what it took to lose 20 pounds, you would have already done it.
Listen, if you can't do it on September 1st, you're not going to do it on January 1st.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm a don't make resolutions kind of guy.
Nope.
So I'm glad
that way I don't ever fail.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, there might be a few failures here or there.
I just don't make resolutions and I don't fail.
You don't fail at resolutions anyway. Yeah. And there's some people that are definitely resolution makers. And listen, I'm not trying to say that if you make resolutions, you're a terrible person or anything like that. I'm just trying to say, for me,
I'm completely opposite. No, you're fooling yourself. You make resolutions, you're just fooling yourself.
Now, there are a few people that make resolutions and they keep them, and they rarely do it without help. They usually, like if they're going to go to the gym, they get a trainer or they get a accountability partner that they have to go work out with, and they don't want to let them down. Like if I tell you, hey, let's meet at the gym at 6:30 in the morning and we're going to go lift weights, I am more likely to get up on time, get out the door, get my butt in gear because I don't want to let my buddy down.
Yeah, see, but that's the problem, though. I've had one of those accountability partners doing the gym thing, and I ended up having to drag his along, even though he was supposed to be my accountability partner. So
yeah, it's got to be mutual, right? But there are some people that manage to do it, and along those lines, I remember reading that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. You ever heard that stat?
I've heard that stat. I'm not quite sure how true it is, but
yeah. But what I found in my life, though, is if I can do something consistently for 21 days in a row, it usually sticks.
See, this is my belief, though, in things that change or people changing their lives or doing something significant. You have to have a significant thing happen to you in order for that to kick in for you.
Yeah. For example, like what?
Well, for example, like a divorce, right? You always see after like a divorce, you always see like, women get the revenge bodies. Same with the guys. They're getting ready to be single and go out and all those other things. That's like a significant thing that has to happen in your life in order for you to change something significantly in your life. Just like saying, hey, it's the new year. I'm going to start working out because I want to lose 20 pounds. It will never happen.
Yeah. Now, I do have a buddy that went through a divorce and he started running. He hadn't run. He ran cross country like back in high school. I can't remember if he did any sports in college, but now in his 60s, he decided I'm gonna start running again, and he lost like 20 something pounds.
Yeah.
And he had gotten a little chubby, dad bod and all that. But he wanted to just like get to the point where I thought he was like so skinny, and I was like, man, like it doesn't look right. But then again, I had known him for like 5-6 years at his current weight, and so it was a little different. It was shocking almost.
Well, I mean, listen, like my weight has always fluctuated up and down depending upon what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
So I completely understand it, but like I said, unless something significant happens to you in your life, a significant life event, you're not going to change your life significantly. People are who they are.
Yeah, I'll give you that. And honestly, this last couple of years, we've had some significant events happen, and we launched this podcast in the new year in 2025 because that's a good time to start something new. New year, new you, right? New podcast.
Hopefully we last longer than 21 days.
So hopefully we don't fail in the first week. But for the people that are watching, maybe I thought we could talk today about who we are and kind of how we met, right? So
let him behind the curtain a little bit.
We'll let him behind the curtain. So let's start off with your personal business right now and kind of tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. We'll talk about our business venture a little bit later.
Got it.
But I figure you could talk about what you do. I can talk about what I do. We can talk about how we met and then how we got to the point.
You want to push the reveal off a little bit. A little bit of anticipation being built.
A little anticipation.
Got it.
That's right.
So about 18 years ago, I decided to get into real estate. So I decided the best time to do that was, of course, 3 months before the Great Recession hit. So I got into real estate. Everyone's doing well. People are doing their floor time. They're making 6 figures. They're driving the Beamer. They're driving the Mercedes. And then the Great Recession started hitting. And everybody ran right past me going out the door. So here I am in this brand new business and this brand new industry that I knew nothing about. And no one was going to teach me anything. So I had to learn the real estate industry from the bottom up, making every mistake in the book. And I learned from it.
Well, at least you learned from it.
I did learn from it because I'm still here in a business where you got like 87% of all people are out of the business in 5 years or less.
Yeah.
I'm still here after all that time. So I eventually learned from my mistakes, thanks to my mom. And I have survived and thrived.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so, I mean, are we okay to say the name of the businesses and all of that?
Yeah, of all of them? Yeah, let's just throw all of them out there.
So you're Elite Properties. And so you came up with a new business idea.
I did.
You wanted to launch a website. So you came to us at Alethea Digital Media. And we do websites, branding, graphic design, all that kind of thing. Before I ran Alethea, when I was out of college, but we were still living in Bellingham, our college town. We went to Western Washington University, my wife and I. Started a company there, and we did screen printing, embroidery, promotional products, graphic design, websites, and that kind of thing. And so I was definitely a small business owner entrenched in the community. Then we wound up moving down here. And when I opened Alethea, times had changed and there was a lot more going on in marketing as far as digital world was concerned. And so a lot more people wanting websites and video and things like that. And so you hired us to build you a website, and we built the website. We built the website. I think the way that you laid it out, like you I remember you drew it on a piece of paper.
Yeah. It was phenomenal.
And I thought it was crazy because you didn't come to us to design a website. You drew every web page.
Well, yeah, that's because I'm a type
you're a type A,
OCD
definitely.
Personality.
Yeah.
Gotta try to will everything into its proper place.
Yeah. And so
I have trust in no one.
Yeah. And so it was very interesting. We started working together on this website and had our whole team involved. And then we kind of just our friendship grew over a couple years working on this website.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It definitely forced us together.
Yeah. And I think it needed to grow to that point where we had that trust.
Yeah.
Because I think in the beginning, it was definitely just a client relationship. It was, hey, I'm paying you to do this. I want you to do this.
Yes.
And there was a couple of times where you called me to task where you said, hey, I thought you were going to have this done by this date and you didn't get it done and you were upset, rightfully so.
Our relationship has grown.
It has.
It has grown.
Yeah. And and so we've been there for each other through different things and different seasons and birthdays and that kind of thing. But at one point we paused and we were getting ready to go launch this website in Las Vegas, which was going to cost a ton of money.
Yeah.
And we had to pause and basically say, is this product really where we want it to be? And it was a real kind of come to Jesus moment.
Well, one of these days we will show that product. One of these days we will show that product. But it's all part of the learning lesson, right? Because there's nobody that's sitting there who's telling you, hey, do A, B, C, and D. That's not how business works, right? Yeah. You don't do A, B, C, and D, and then you get the end result. Because you can have, person 1 who does the exact same steps and is successful, and you get a person 2 who does the exact same steps and they're not successful.
Absolutely.
So just say that there's no equation to it per se. So you definitely, business is tough and you have to learn how to trust people. People have to earn that right to get trusted. And you have to make those mistakes, and those mistakes are very, very expensive.
They are.
Is what I've learned.
They are very expensive, especially if you don't learn from them. And so I don't know if this is smart business sense or not, but I remember we got to a point where I basically said, hey, listen, I 100% believe in the product, in your idea, so much so that I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. And I wound up buying into the business, and we became partners at that point, which totally changed the relationship.
If that was smart or not? Well,
I mean, because I went from getting paid to build a website to now paying the company, and then basically working for free until we get this thing launched, right? Yeah. And so sacrifices have been made by both of us, and if anybody has ever launched a business, if you've ever done a startup, it's a lot of work. Don't kid yourself. There's a big difference between being a sole proprietor and starting a little small business.
Completely different game.
But we had big designs. We didn't want to be a local yokel kind of. We both own local businesses, but this is a nationwide thing.
Yeah.
So let's take some time and tell them what we arrived at. I mean, you're kind of giving it away because you're wearing the gear.
Yeah, I just realized I completely forgot that I'm wearing all the gear. So it's pretty cool, obvious this time around.
It's cool,
I won't be wearing the gear for future podcasts, but we just want to kind of do an introduction of who we are, kind of what our background is, and then go into other things in future podcasts after this, because we don't want this to be a commercial. That's not the purpose at all.
But with that said, the business that we have built is called Swivel.
Yes.
And so tell them about how the idea came about and what the basic idea behind Swivel is.
So, in real estate, I own a brokerage, and I have trained hundreds of real estate agents, and I've watched thousands of agents come and go out of this business. And I've also watched home buyers and home sellers struggle, and seen their struggle come up with their down payments, their closing costs, all of those other things. And then I watch agents struggle to be in this business. Like we talked about, 87% of them are out of this business in 5 years or less. The average agent does, approximately 4 to 6 deals in a year. Half of all agents don't even do a deal in a year. I mean, the numbers are really, really horrible. Like when you turn to become a real estate agent, like no one tells you any of these numbers. If someone had told me these numbers, I probably would have went and got a state job or something.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've watched all of this, and I've watched agents desperately want to be in this business and survive in this business. So they will throw money at anybody and everybody who calls them. Yeah. And I watched these big companies, because remember, like these companies like Truly and Zillow and all these other companies came into effect when I started my career. This is when they started in their startup phase. And I've watched over the years as these companies have started to charge these exorbitant marketing and client referral fees that are billions of dollars every year. Billions of dollars that agents are paying throughout to these companies just for the opportunity or a chance of getting clients and to be able to build their businesses. And I have always thought to myself, there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way of how real estate works than what we're currently doing, where we're throwing this money at these big tech corporations and we're getting very, very, very little back and nothing's guaranteed, even though they're making all this money. So, as I've been out showing homes and doing all this on the ground level, because remember, we're not some big, like you talked about, we're not big tech people. We didn't start up with a startup idea and then go pitch it to a bunch of people and get $10 million and then be able to launch. We built this from the ground up. We built this because I've sat there and had to sell homes and have done that over and over again and show people homes. And you take this client lead that you get and you call them for 3 to 6 months and then you develop a relationship with them and you finally go out and show homes. And then after showing them tons of homes, you finally write a contract. And by the time you finally get under contract, then you have to go through your inspection and then it all falls out and you got to do it all over again with them. And then finally it gets through inspection, you finally close and you finally get a paycheck. And I think that until you go through that process as a real estate agent, as a home buyer and a home seller, you don't truly know what it feels like. And you also don't know what it takes to be successful. So I would look at these big tech corporations and I would be like, why are we paying them all this money? And I've done it myself. I've paid these client referral fees $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. And I'm like, what are we getting back from it? I would much rather give this to my home buyer or home seller. I would much rather invest this money in my business, i.e. also in them. So we came up with this great idea for Swivel and decided, hey, this is a great way to be able to take money that's already being spent, but spend it in a much better way that actually benefits the players that are in the business, the agents, the home buyers, and the home sellers. And let's drive these middlemen that are taking advantage of everybody out of business.
Yeah, that's great. When you first told me the idea, I think I remember telling you, it's brilliant because of its simplicity.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I don't like to use the word game changer lightly, but I do think it's a game changer. So, break down for the people kind of how is Swivel different than say the competitors? You mentioned Zillow, Redfin, Trulia. What makes Swivel different?
Yeah, so this is how this normally happens. So you go on to Redfin, Realtor, Zillow, any of these sites, and they have a property search, nationwide property search. People look for homes, etc. And then they decide, hey, I would like to find a real estate agent who's going to help me buy or help me sell a home. So they then request to be referred to a real estate agent. What they don't know is that real estate agent that they're being referred to, come to the closing date, is going to pay Redfin, Realtor, Zillow, or these middlemen, is going to pay them a client referral fee of 30, 40, 50% of the total commission. So for example, in the Seattle area, where we're at, the average home just hit $1 million. So that commission can be $25,000, $30,000. So paying half of that, right, to all this is going to be about $12,500 to $15,000. That's not going to the home buyer, home seller whose information is being sold, whose business is being sold and referred. It's going to the big tech company.
Yeah.
So with our platform, what happens is you're able to come and find and look for homes just like you do with our competitors. But on the flip side, you're able to find a top-notch real estate agent who is willing to invest that money back into their actual client rather than paying it to those middlemen. So that money is being given back to the home buyer and home seller, and then they can use that for their down payments, their closing costs, etc. So it averages out to about up to $10,000 or more per closing, and we're giving it to that money to the people who are actually deserving of it.
Yeah, and a lot of times people ask, "Oh, so you're asking agents to give up their commission, and what are you guys making?"
That's always the
We get a lot of these questions, and the truth is this. I'm not a part of the real estate industry other than this business. This is my first foray, and so I didn't know how any of this works. So it's been a steep learning curve for me. I'm the CTO of the company, and you're the CEO. We should have told people that.
Yes.
And so because of my background, coming from computer programming, marketing, and all of that background, that was a good fit for me. But I think it's interesting because a lot of people are asking, well, now you're asking a real estate agent to give up money.
Oh, yeah.
But the answer is this: they're paying that money.
Yeah.
And nobody knows this. And that's what blew me away when I started seeing the numbers, like that Zillow referral program. Agents paying about $6,000 a month to get 6 to 8 client leads that They could be tire kickers. They could be looking for, just like $10,000 of land. Could be $1 million home. Who knows?
Yeah, there's so few of those that come
Yeah.
across, though. I mean, the reality is this: if you're paying like $6,000-7,000 a month for any routine, like 8 to 10 client leads, and most agents have about a 1 to 3% successful conversion ratio of those actually turning into actual deals that close, you can do the numbers and you can see it's a losing valuation. But because real estate agents are almost cycling out of the business at an extremely high rate, almost 100%, but it's 87%, there's always going to be a new group of agents that they are calling and reaching out to try to get into those programs. So there's always a steady stream of money that's coming into there.
Yeah. It's kind of a racket. And what I love about our platform, like I said, is the simplicity. If you buy $1 million home on another platform, at the end of the day, you get $1 million home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you
Which
buy
isn't bad.
It's not.
It's $1 million
you got a new home.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes.
You got a new home, right? But if you buy that same house on our platform, at the end of the day, your agent's going to give you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 back. You can use that to use for down payment. You can use it for closing costs, buying new furniture, paying off a car, buying a used car, whatever you want.
Yeah, you definitely have access to that money. And this is the biggest thing the biggest hurdle for a lot of people is not being able to get approved for a loan or having the credit to get approved for a loan. It's really putting together the money for the down payment, the closing costs, et cetera. So this allows home buyers and home sellers to have access to additional money that they normally wouldn't have. And let's be honest, what do these big tech middlemen do to deserve this money? So they provide a property search for you to be able to buy your home or actually have more exposure for your home. Great. That's wonderful. And then they refer you to an agent and they take all this money. And this is the big problem with all that. It's always felt a little bit unsure and dirty to me because while I'm helping my clients out and I'm doing the best I possibly can to help them out, they have no idea that their information is being sold to me as the real estate agent. They have no idea that I'm going to cut this check for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 to one of these companies. And the last thing is they get none of it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're getting none of this money. And it's like, okay, if I'm going to pay this money, like for example, in business, we all know that every business has a client acquisition cost, whether that client acquisition cost is for client leads, whether it's for social media, whether it's for advertising, inventory, whatever it is, there's always a client acquisition cost. So we wanted to make sure that, yes, there's a client acquisition cost for us, but you're putting that directly back into your clients. Your clients are benefiting. They're more likely to refer their family and friends to you. Yeah. And number two, we wanted to make sure that the vast majority of the money outside of the membership fee that Swivel charges, that's only paid upon the successful closing of a home. So you're not putting money out, hoping to God that you're going to get a close and you're going to be able to get that money back. You're only paying that money upon the successful closing of home. So what I always tell people and I tell agents, I go, hey, listen, in order to get $15,000, would you gladly pay $5,000 now? Yeah, of course, in a second. And you would do that any day of the week for that type of return. So like I said, Swivel is definitely near and dear to my heart. I believe that it's a way to be able to make the whole real estate process much more equitable for everybody, the home buyer, the home seller, and the real estate agent. Everything is above board. And as we've seen with the lawsuits with NAR and all this other good stuff, this stuff has been, basically behind the wall and it has made people, not trusting of the real estate industry. It's made them question us. Yeah. And Swivel is meant to do the exact opposite.
Absolutely. Now, at the risk of sounding like a infomercial, because you just said, hey, this isn't going to be an infomercial, but you did mention that there's a monthly fee, and that's how we monetize it. And so what is that for real estate agents?
Well, like I said, this is our first podcast and all the rest of them will, not even really mention Swivel going forward, but it is important to know the people that are behind the business. So with Swivel, we basically have 3 flagship products. Okay. And these are flagship products that make us different than all the other platforms. So number 1 is Share by Swivel. Share by Swivel allows real estate agents to be able to go onto the platform, find home buyers and home sellers that are, ready to sell their home. They can then declare, how much of their commission they're willing to share with the actual home buyer and home seller. And of course, the agent who has agreed to share the largest percentage isn't connected with the home buyer or home seller. That process takes about 5 days. In order to have membership and be able to participate in unlimited share experiences, that's $199 a month for real estate agents. So we wanted to make sure a couple things with all of it. We wanted to make sure that it was affordable for real estate agents. Number two, we want to make sure that we never locked them into long-term contracts. I can't tell you how many agents I've had sitting in my office who have been locked into year-long contracts with platforms like Zillow, Truly, etc., and can't get out of them. And they're not getting the returns that they were promised. And 3-4 months into it, they can no longer afford to do it, and they don't have the money, and they're worried about not being able to pay, hitting their credit, all that other good stuff. So we're a month by month. We need to earn your business every month. And then, like I said, finally, we want to make sure that we never charge client referral fees, because we want real estate agents to be able to make that decision and say, hey, how much of the commission am I willing to invest in order to secure a certain type of client? And then I only have to invest that additional money upon the successful closing of the home. And then we have two other products, like we said, that are flagship products, which is called Instant Lender Connect and Instant Agent Connect. And with these products, basically, home buyers and home sellers are able to be connected with very reputable, very high performing real estate agents, and also the same on the lending side, because that's a big part, right? You got to get pre-approved. You got to make sure that you're going to have enough money to be able to buy that house that you're really interested in. And those two products are basically an additional fee. It's a small additional fee. There's a limited amount of spots for every zip code.
Absolutely.
Once the agent or the lender secures those zip codes, then it's theirs, and all the leads that come through there come through to them on that end of things.
Yeah. And, I've been kind of surprised we just launched Swivel last year in August at Inman Connect.
Yeah.
And it's one of the largest real estate shows.
We spent a lot of time in
US.
Vegas this summer.
So it's still a very young business. And we've got some advertising that you're probably going to be seeing, if you haven't seen already, on various streaming platforms. So be looking for those ads. But it's been kind of a whirlwind. And what surprised me is this idea of the big tech company taking a hefty percentage from the agents is so prevalent, so entrenched in the industry.
Oh yeah.
That agent after agent that we talk to at these shows are like, okay, so wait a minute. So how much percent do you get on the back end? We're like, none.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, what? So do I pay you a percentage up front, a flat rate? Is it? We're like, no, we don't take anything else. You pay $199 a month, and that's it. And they find it hard to believe. And I'm like, they're like, there's got to be a catch. And we're like, there's no catch.
Oh yeah, it's so entrenched in. I mean, even when we're sitting at these conventions, right? Mm-hmm. We have our booth and stuff for Swivel, and then we look over and we see, like Homes.com. And they literally have like a quarter of the convention hall space. And we know what that cost, right? Well, we know that is a load of money. And then we have to tell agents, well, how do you think they're paying for this?
Absolutely.
But look at them over there. That's your money that you're giving to them to have all of that space and the fancy couches and all the people that are sitting there, all of that. That's where that money's going. Yeah. And at what point are we going to wake up and we are going to do it differently? And like I said, I really do liken this to kind of the Blockbuster and Netflix moment of where Blockbuster was the big gorilla in the room, but their business plan is so locked in. Okay. Yeah. Like these other companies that we're talking about, these middlemen, they can't change their business plan. They can't all of a sudden give this money back to home buyers and home sellers and real estate agents because they need it. Like, for example, when these companies first started out, they weren't charging referral fees of 30, 40, 50%. These were referral fees of 10, 15, maybe 20%. But as time has went on, the only way that they can make more money is by increasing that actual client referral fee, that marketing fee that they're charging to agents. So the only way they could do something like what we're doing is they would have to completely downsize everything they're doing, laying off like 90% of their company, and they can't do it. They're too big to be able to change. So we are that new company that's out there that has the flexibility to be able to be truly on this side of home buyers and home sellers. You and I talked about it. We're not here to make as much money off of every deal possible. That's not our purpose. Our purpose is truly to make being in this business easier for real estate agents and to make buying and selling homes easier for home buyers and home sellers.
Absolutely. So I know there are a lot of people out there listening that probably are either budding entrepreneurs or maybe they're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. And
don't do it. Go find a state job with a pension.
But seriously, what advice would you give to the budding entrepreneurs? I do love when we go to certain shows that are talking about business ventures and that kind of thing. I love the young, excited entrepreneur that's coming up, asking us questions afterwards, like, what made you want to start this, and So, what advice would you give to that budding entrepreneur?
And this is the thing that we talked about, right? When we've ran into, especially as we've been launching Swivel, we've ran into a lot of people with a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. But I will say this, ideas are really cheap. You have to, if you're willing to go in and build a business and be an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to put everything on the line for that success. Now, hopefully you don't have to, but the success stories or the companies that, launch and are successful on day one, they're minute, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen. So you have to be willing to truly put everything on the line. So for example, I mean, I've told you this story, but I'll tell it now. There is, when I was building my real estate brokerage, there was a point where I was going through a divorce. I did not have enough money to be able to pay my personal expenses and the brokerage as I was trying to get it launched and let it grow. So I literally had to make a decision. Do I shut down the brokerage? Again, just go back to being a regular real estate agent, or do I give the brokerage the amount of time and space and money to be able to grow? And I hoped it wasn't going to be forever, but I had to make that decision. So the decision that I made was I gave up my apartment and I gave up all my expenses. And I literally, for a year, I slept on the floor of my office and I lived out of my car in a parking lot.
Wow.
And people don't know this. People didn't know I was doing it. My agents didn't know I was doing it. The doors stayed open, but I bought myself that time for my business to be able to grow. And I'll be honest with you too. I mean, I wasn't paying taxes back then. I had to make an educated decision and say, okay, am I going to forego paying taxes for a year or two and then have to get myself up on a catch-up plan, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So you make that educated, hopefully good decision, but it's very risky. And if you're not willing to do that, don't waste your time. Don't waste everyone else's time. Don't waste the money that you're going to put into it, because you have to be willing to go to that extreme, that being successful is that important to be able to make it. Other than that, then don't do it. And I have that personality. I have that, hey, I'm going to go all in, and it doesn't matter if I lose everything doing it. But I was also willing to make those success. So like I said, I mean, I was sleeping in a sleeping bag in the car. I was having people bang on my window looking for drugs and cigarettes and everything else like that during the night. But you have to have that personality to be able to do it. Otherwise, like I said, it's just a good idea. Good ideas come and go, okay, all the time. I mean, you look at it, and Chewy, for example, is like really successful now. Well, back in our day, not to age ourselves, but so was pets.com, and they failed and went away, right? We all remember the pets.com sock puppet with it. So that would be the advice that I would give to people. I say, good ideas, they're a dime a dozen. If you don't have that drive and determination to sacrifice everything, to be homeless on the streets in order to make it happen, just save everybody the hassle.
Yeah. Man, that's good. That's good stuff. I would probably give the advice. I think there's two things that I would say. Number one, I would say, don't let fear rule your decision making. Look at the numbers, make decisions based on facts, not feelings.
Yeah.
I think too many times I've run into people that they go, okay, look, I got $5,000 saved up and I could invest it into my business and get this piece of machinery or something. But what if it fails? And what if this doesn't happen? What if that? You know what? We could play the what if game all day. What if you and I both got run over by a semi truck in the parking lot on our way to our cars after this podcast? What if? Right?
Well, hopefully not.
Hopefully we have life insurance, and our wives will carry on without us. They'll miss us, of course. But I've seen too many business owners who had something good going that could have been potentially great get crippled by fear.
Yeah.
And when you let fear be your driving force and your motivator, man, I tell you, you've already lost that battle.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you. I think that fear thing can definitely, stop something from happening.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to power through it. But like I said, you have to be able to have that personality to overcome everything, no matter what the cost is. And like I said, if you don't have it, then you need to stay out of it.
Yeah.
But if you do, bring it.
And I found that fear is kind of like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets.
Oh yeah, because you're always going to find a reason not to do something.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a lot easier to find that reason not to do something.
You failed to pull the trigger once. The next time, it's even easier to not pull the trigger. And the next time, you just don't even give the thought a second thought, right?
Oh, yeah, you don't even play the game.
Exactly, right? And the other piece of advice that I would give to budding entrepreneurs would be find a mentor. I wish that I could go back and have had a mentor tell me all the things that I was about to do wrong and say, hey, trust me on this, don't do it. And, I'm not saying your mentor has to have it all figured out, but just somebody that you can trust that is willing to speak life into you and give you good advice on what you should do. And it's not just business acumen. Sometimes you just need somebody that's just wise, that's been around the block a few times. Because if we're being honest, a lot of the decisions that we make come down to common sense.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways for people to get wisdom is that they have to take the knowledge that they have and have the experience to have applied it. And either it was the right decision or it was the wrong decision, but either way they learn from it. Now they have wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge applied. And so now they can say, hey, that sounds like a great idea, Chad, but trust me, it's not going to work. And then depending on your personality, you try it anyway. You go, wow, yeah, you're right. That didn't work. I could have saved you the trouble if you just listened to me, right?
Yeah, like you talked about, we have made a lot of expensive mistakes. But I will also say this, as much as I do agree with you that the mentoring can be very, very important. I think sometimes people think that the mentoring is going to be the easy road or the easy path to success. And no matter, because I've mentored a lot of agents, and I've had agents go, I'm going to do it my way. I've got it all figured out. And then I can't tell you how many agents I've sat across from that go, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to make you this. I'm going to make you that. And they do one or two deals and they're gone with all of it. Yeah. So I agree with you fully with all of it, but I think you also have to pair it with that hard-headedness that, my wife will tell you I have. Of that, and I'll be honest with you, for me, you have to have that drive for perfection.
Yeah.
Knowing that you may never ever get it because it's an elusive thing, right? There's no such thing as true perfection, no matter what. As much as I like to tell people I'm perfect, I'm not perfect, and it's impossible to reach, but you have to be aware of that drive to get there, to be able to make sure that all the small things are being taken care of appropriately in order to achieve your big goal. Because if you can't take care of those small things, you're never going to reach that end goal.
Nice. All right, last question. You're a busy guy. I'm a busy guy.
Why would we want to do a podcast at this point in our lives?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure. I hope that, all the different things, because like we've talked about it, this podcast is just going to go wherever it goes. We're not sitting here to make an infomercial for Swivel. We're not sitting here and just going, it's just going to be business related, or it's just going to be relationship related, or anything else like that. We're going to take that, whatever we start talking about, and wherever it goes, we hope that it gives you a little bit of insight into us. It gives a little bit of insight for somebody else as far as when they're handling those situations. They can get a little bit more connected with us, and hopefully somewhere, somehow, some of this helps with somebody. But and that's what I'm in it for, to be honest with you. And I'm just interested to see where it goes. I'm interested to see if we crash and burn, and it's a learning lesson for me, right? Remember, I'm hard-headed. But or if it's successful, then great. We learned something, we provided something of value to people, and they got something out of it.
Yeah,
that's all I've got for you, man.
Well, for me, I mean, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I'm really busy, just like you are. But luckily for us, one of the businesses that I own is a digital media company, and so
it has helped.
We're in one of our studios right now, Studio B, our podcast studio, and I had the podcast gear. And I've been a part of a podcast in the past, and I kind of miss it, honestly. Hung up the last podcast and just kind of got buried in building the business. And I thought, one of the things that I loved about doing the podcast in the past is that, you and I are both men of opinions. And in our conversations, we will share our opinions.
Never been said about me,
whether somebody wants to hear them or not. But I also know that you and I were talking about something like the School of Hard Knocks and some of the mistakes that we've made. And like you, I'm hoping that something that we talk about here, some of the wisdom that we lay down, somebody out there watching, listening, maybe it's you, is hearing something maybe for the first time, or maybe it's just reiterating something that they've heard their whole life.
Yeah.
You know, oh man, I heard my dad used to say that to me all the time. Well, you know what? Your dad was right. Okay. So take the advice, apply it, and maybe we just make somebody's life just a little bit better. Maybe it's just for 30 minutes, they were at least entertained.
Yeah.
And I think if we can just reach out and touch a couple of lives, like for me, that's worth it.
I do think I need to clarify something though, as I told you my story about not paying my IRS payments for
nagging at you for the last 10 minutes.
I thought I had to get a disclaimer here that I have caught up on all of that.
Yeah, you're good to go now.
The wonderful people at the IRS were just so helpful. Let me tell you, trust me, it's absolutely wonderful when you look in your bank accounts and everything's been seized with all of it. But I'm years out of that now.
Yeah. Well, see, I knew that in my head.
I just want to thank the wonderful people at the IRS for being so helpful with all of that. And but I did, I dug out of it, and it's definitely been a learning
Maybe
lesson.
we'll have a little disclaimer pop up right down here as you say that.
Don't. I'm good with y'all. Okay. I have learned, man, they really are the one group you don't want to with.
You just got us on a watch list of some kind.
So anyways.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for joining us. We're so excited that you guys took the time to hang out with us. Once again, I'm Rob.
Yeah, I'm Chad.
And we'll see you guys next time.